Klibber, hi friends, Darth Mirror here. I suppose it's about time I do a full-on Rogue One to Star Wars story review. So, without further ado, let's get to it. But before I do this, I should warn, there will be spoilers. But I'm pretty sure that's a given, considering I did my no spoiler review already. Anyway, let's get right into this. This will be a little lengthier than Star Wars Rebels review, so be aware of that. So, there are some negative things, there are some positive things, but overall, I enjoyed Rogue One. It definitely is not my favorite Star Wars movie. That still goes to The Empire Strikes Back. But, you know, I wouldn't necessarily say it's the worst Star Wars movie. It's definitely better than the first two prequels. It's kind of tying right now for me with Return of the Jedi and Revenge of the Sith. I still consider Force Awakens to be better than Rogue One, but I will get into that. So, I do say, just because there are some negative things, doesn't mean I didn't like Rogue One. It just meant there were some things I didn't like about it. For example, my biggest problem was the music. There was no memorable tracks, really. It wasn't Star Wars music for me, and it kind of lowered the impact the film had on me its first viewing. I got used to it the second time around, but the first time the movie kind of fell flat for me. Especially the first, hour and a half or so of the film. And, it felt kind of oddly paced. I don't really know how to describe it. And, yeah, the movie, it took a little while to figure out what it was going for. It was kind of jumpy at first from the beginning. And I understood what was happening at the very beginning of the movie because I read Catalyst. But the 8 people I went with to the theater did not read Catalyst. So, they didn't understand what the hell was going on. So, I don't blame them. And it kind of got right into it. There was no kind of slow introduction like Star Wars movies usually have. It literally dove right into it as if we knew what was going on. So that was an issue I kind of had with it. It took a little while kind of getting on its feet, but once it did, man, it was good. The music, it was better, but I didn't really like how it was kind of leading into the original themes, it would go bum ba da bum ba da bum. Really, it used the Force theme a couple times, but there's no familiar tracks for me, so I was a little disappointed with that. Another thing I didn't like about it, Saw Gerrera. I didn't really like Forrest Whitaker's portrayal of it. Forrest Whitaker is still a great actor, believe me, but I had seen the episodes that he was in the Clone Wars Wednesday, and then I'd seen the film Thursday, and his character just didn't feel right to me. His portrayal of it didn't feel like Saw Gerrera. And part of that is due to the acting of Forrest Whitaker. It just didn't feel like it, but also I felt that he wasn't really written similar to him as well. The fact that Saw Gerrera just stays there while everyone else escapes. Kind of didn't feel right. It felt like Saw would have been the guy to get out with them and deliver another punch to the Empire. There are a few things that they did that felt right with Saw, like the extreme-isms, the weird animal thing, and how it would cause the guy to lose his mind. That felt like Saw Gerrera. The extreme tactics. But overall, I wasn't too pleased with it. Not that I hated it, but I wasn't too pleased with it. Another thing I had a problem with were the characters. Now, I guess I should rephrase that. The characters were cool. I liked the characters, Jin and Cassian, K2, Chirrut, Baze Malbus had his cool moments. Bodhi Rook I'm a little about, but it just didn't really go much into the characters. Probably because there were so many characters. We didn't really get a chance to explore them. I felt Cassian and Jin were done fairly well, but the rest of them, Baze, Chirrut, Bodhi, Galen, they were... And then the returning characters, Saw Gerrera, Galen Erso, Lyra Urso, Director Krennic. Director Krennic was okay, but them four, their characters were more so continuations of what we knew from Catalyst. It was almost as if they expected us to know what these characters were about. So, like the deaths of Lyra and Saw were a shock to me because I was like, what? What? Like, I was fond of these characters. I spent time with them. Galen's made me cry. Because I had spent the past 3 weeks or so reading that book and getting into it. But otherwise, I didn't really feel much for the other characters. Chirrut's death was kind of saddening for me because of the way the dynamic was done. K2SO, that was definitely sad, and that was probably the saddest for the audience as well. Lyra Jyn Erso and Cassian, their deaths, they were given proper deaths, but everyone was just kind of slowly picked off, and the tension was lost a little. But and also there's another part I felt in the film where Jyn and Cassian were going to kiss when they were going down the elevator. Am I the only one who thought that? It really looked like they were going to kiss. Director Krennic, I felt his interactions were handled well with the likes of Tarkin and Vader. Yes, Tarkin. Another problem I had. Now, don't get me wrong. I'd much rather prefer a CGI Tarkin or a CGI Peter Cushing over a recasted Tarkin. But, it just wasn't really handled too well. It looked a lot like Peter Cushing, but there was just little movements like the blinking, facial movements, and just little turns and how he would move around that you could totally tell it was CGI, and that kind of bothered me. And just how they went about it. I was a little I was disappointed with the voice. I was confused as to why they didn't have Stephen Stanton do the voice. He was already part of Rogue One. He voiced Admiral Raddus. So, a little confused on that. I thought it would have been better for the film to have Stephen Stanton voice it. Also, they had a CGI Leia make an appearance. When I first saw the film, I thought the CGI Leia was really good, and then I saw it again, and you could kind of tell it was CGI. So, a little disappointed with that. And the CGI, it did not feel like The Force Awakens. The Force Awakens did a very good job with relying on practical effects and using CGI only when necessary. And they did good with, the CGI is good. But with Rogue One, I felt they relied a little too much on CGI. And, film kind of suffers to me for them. Because you can tell things are CGI. It wasn't as good as The Force Awakens were. Especially since this is supposed to be right before A New Hope. So if you go and watch Rogue One and A New Hope together, back to back, it's going to feel a little different. Because it's like, we have all the CGI stuff here. And then now it's like, everything's practical. And, not necessarily that that's bad, but, the fact that it'll look different. It's harder, the fact, to tie those two together. Now, the prequels and the originals, that's different, because it's there's a 20-year gap in between it. It's not supposed to look identical to what it is, because there's that 20-year gap. Things can be different. Same with the sequels and the originals. The Falcon looks different between 6 and 7. But, it doesn't take you out of the film if you're marathoning them because, hey, there's been a 30-year time difference in universe. Rogue One and A New Hope are supposed to take place simultaneously, practically. A New Hope begins about 10 minutes or so after Rogue One ends. So, it'll look a little odd. The cameos, I definitely had a problem with some of the cameos. Ponda Baba and Dr. Evazan, that was just freaking stupid right there. I literally was like, what the frick? WTF, guys? They shouldn't be there. That was pure fan service, and that pissed me off. 3PO and R2. I did cheer. I was glad that they appeared. But, if you think about it, it's a little odd that they were, with how they were placed. I felt it should have been at the end on the Tantive 4. But also another thing I noticed with 3PO and R2 is that their costumes were Force Awakens costumes minus the red arm on 3PO versus more closer to A New Hope. I understand why they did that because they're cameos, so it wasn't like they had to put too much effort into it, but still. And the other thing I had with it was, what was the other thing I had with it? Oh, the title cards. That kind of took me out of it a little. And then they would put title cards on planets, but they wouldn't. For example, Mustafar. There's no title card there. Kind of pissed me off. Yeah, that's really my negatives for the film. My positives for the film. Well, I did like the Rebels Easter eggs it threw in. Saw the Ghost a few times. I heard General Syndulla, please report to the command center or something like that. I saw Chopper on my second viewing, so those were cool. I look forward to seeing how Rogue One, or how Rebels continue to progress to Rogue One. Let's see, Vader. That was another thing fantastically done. James Earl Jones, again, I mean, a lot of people were like, that didn't sound too much like him. I'm like, it was him. He's just 40 years older now. James Earl Jones, that was a great choice to bring him back. You can definitely tell he sounded a little different at parts. It depends on how long his line was. If it was a shorter line, it sounded perfect. If it was a little bit longer of a line, you could tell he was old. It was, older James Earl Jones. I liked his little pun he did there. Be careful not to choke on your aspirations. I thought the thing in the Bacta tank and the fact that his own personal castle is on Mustafar was pretty cool. Kind of gives a little hint to why it was so significant during the capture of Kanan and all that in Rebels. Why that's where Jedi go to die. Another thing I liked about it was the prequel acknowledgement, as I kind of just mentioned. There was a flashback scene, took place on Coruscant. An old Juggernaut tank, repurposed for Imperial prison transport. The little subtle nods to the prequels I really liked, and that's what kind of took me out of The Force Awakens. The fact that it was practically ignoring it. But Rogue One, it didn't heavily focus on it, but it wasn't afraid to reference them. And I like that. I hope they continue to get better with that in the future. Red and Gold Leader, that was pretty cool, and they weren't CGI either, so I really liked that. Bail Organa, I really liked his introduction to the film. I really liked that he was in it, and I liked the little tie to Kenobi. And again, I like how this all led into A New Hope. Krennic's gone now. Tarkin has complete control of the Death Star. There's just a few more things to finish up, and they'll be ready to fire on Alderaan. Bail Organa heads back to Alderaan after sending Leia to go get Kenobi. Leia gets the Death Star plans. Vader's on their trail, and it really tied it all up like that. And what helped to do that was everyone died. Oh my goodness, I was not expecting that. And their deaths were handled really well. Maybe Bodhi Rook. I'm a little iffy on that, but Baze Malbus and Chura Imwe especially, I liked how they went out. K2SO, very saddening. Jid and Cassian, that was fantastic how that went out. And I really liked, how this whole film went down. The mention of Carabats, before I forget, that was pretty cool. I heard that the second time, I liked that. I'll include that in my updated Carabas Super Reel I release once Season 3 of Rebels is done. And, that was my thoughts on Rogue One. If I had to rank it or place it somewhere in the ranking, I would probably place it in between The Force Awakens and Return of the Jedi. Again, Force Awakens I think was better because the acting, they were both phenomenal in the films, but we got more into the characters in Force Awakens and they were more interesting. Force Awakens also didn't rely so much on CGI, and ultimately helped innovate the franchise. So, if I had to give it a star rating, I'd probably give it a 4. With that is my review for Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. I will definitely be making alludes to this in my Rebels reviews, and the Rebels reviews, they will pick up January 7th with Ghost of Geonosis. And it was just confirmed earlier that Saw Gerrera will be in that episode. My only question is who will be the voice, Andrew Kishino or Forrest Whitaker? I think it should be Andrew Kishino to kind of help blend the two periods together. But anyway, enough of that. This is Rogue One, not Rebels. So thank you for joining in. I really do appreciate your guys' support. Let's get ready to go into the new year. I got content lined up. everything's looking good for the Darth Momo YouTube channel. I've got the next couple months planned ahead, and content continually being created. So, and I am continuing to collaborate with channels such as Lance 007, Nuclear Films, Digital Reality. So, let's keep this going, guys. Thank you for the support. Any questions or comments, please put them down in the comment section. Like the video if you enjoyed it, and don't forget to subscribe. Darth Momo, out. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel. If you liked the video, comment down below and hit that like button. Oh, and check out some of my other videos. I'm sure you'll find them a delight.